Hey.
Howdy.
Look who it is. It's Röckët Stähr, everybody.
It is I, Röckët Stähr.
He's here.
I'm here. And you're there. And wherever.
So yes, it's a great honor to have you on the show. I need to turn my face to see you because that would be rude if I just stared at the audience the whole time.
Quite frankly, there's not much to look at. I don't get a lot of sun.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
This side of your cat head.
There, now I can watch you. All right.
Hello.
So yeah, everybody's saying hi. I'm sure that, if you look over there, you can see what people are saying. I'm sure that everybody's...
What are people saying?
What are people saying? People are saying, this is like Space Ghost, Coast to Ghost. Welcome. Hello, esteemed guest.
Right.
And then someone named Zago Olgilly.
Oh, yeah. Zaglo, I think it is. Great
Zalgo.
name. I don't know if it's real or not. Zalgo.
Yeah, Zalgo's here.
I don't know if it's he or she, but I love that name. And they comment on my posts sometimes. And I just love that name.
Awesome.
Zalgo. I don't know if it's real or not.
Awesome.
Any name that starts with a Z is kind of cool. Right?
Right.
It almost sounds futuristic.
Right.
I don't know why.
Well,
Beavers don't sound futuristic.
Well, my name is just Jim Wirt. And growing up, it was just kind of Jim Wirt. And I wanted more syllables, but anyway.
I won't even tell you what my name was.
Yes. So people, let me turn to you guys. So basically, we got Röckët Stähr here. This guy is a multi-talented person.
Hooray, honey badger.
And he's done a lot of stuff. He's had an illustrious career, but we're here to talk about this poster behind my head.
Illustrious career?
Yes.
Are you sure you got the right guess?
I definitely have the right guy. I've seen some of your early 90s footage.
About my career.
No, I've seen some of your footage. So yeah, tell them a little bit about what you've done the last 13 years. I finished the movie in early 2020, so it was actually the 13 years prior to that. So the last few years, I've been just trying to figure out how I'd like to get it out there. Really, I don't know which part you want to hear about or what you want to hear, but yes, it took 13 years to make the friggin' movie, and 8 years of that was just animating the entire thing on my own. And what the hell is going on that video screen behind you? Holy Christ! But I, so that's basically, I made a movie. Ma. Now you get to see. Now, me being also a creative person, I have many times thought, oh, wow, Toon Boom, that'd be fun to learn. And then I kind of farted around with Flash, but, it just seems so intense.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was, when I started out, I'll probably be writing about all this in my booklet for my double vinyl release that's coming out, my pre-sale. But I wasn't intending on doing this. I didn't mean to animate an entire movie on my own. I wanted somebody else to do it. And I was very naively asking people who were like either independent animation houses or indie animators I could find on YouTube, and they're all like, "Oh, it's a good idea, but how many millions of dollars do you have?"
Right.
$0 million I have. So I kind of originally started trying to think of a way to sort of design the characters and draw a bunch of scenes I was going to do to maybe then try to take it places to maybe raise money, and kind of like George Lucas did with Star Wars when he got what's his name? That great concept artist,
Ralph McQuire.
Yeah,
McQuire.
Right. Great. Oh, Mick something. I know his name. I just can't think of it. But so I started doing things. And at first, I was trying to think of where I should draw in, and I kind of checked out some animation programs that were more bitmap based, and I don't know why I chose an animation program to draw in. Maybe it was a little good foresight that something was going to go on. Mm-hmm. And so I looked up a bunch, and stumbled on Toon Boom. Back then it was called Toon Boom Anime or Animate or something like
Right.
that. Harmony didn't come on until later on. They kept changing it. And so I got like kind of a trial version of it and started kind of just messing around, drawing in their vector. And eventually I just little by little, boom, had a movie. No, that was, just a starting point. I just started drawing it. I didn't even try to think of animating. So it was kind of like I wasn't worried about how am I going to learn all this. I was just like, I just need to draw in here.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the start of it. And then I got to one scene, and I've told this story a million times. People are probably getting, they're like, you told this story already. But no, I'll tell it a million times after this too, where I got to one scene, and it's in the movie still, although it's touched up a little better than it was. And it was an army guy who's getting his clothes torn off. He's turning into an army guy. He's a man who gets thrown in, all his machine arms are tearing things off. And I was like, well, if I do this as concept art, I'd like the people who see it to kind of know what's going on. And since I can make things move in here, let me try to move this one arm. And I made it move. And I was like, oh, wow, I animated something.
Mm-hmm.
Let me move this other arm. And I did that. I was like, oh, look, I did that. And you start little by little. I always describe it as like when you clean one spot off of a dirty window and then you're like, start cleaning a little. Like, no, now the rest of it looks good. So you start cleaning the whole thing. Before you know it, you've cleaned the entire damn house.
Right.
That's basically what happened.
Wow.
I just kind of kept doing it and started going there. And I thought, well, I guess I'm animating now. So I might as well do it my own. And it didn't strike me that it would take me 13 years or 8 years to animate. I thought it'd be like between 2 and 4.
Right. Well, so I want to get your opinion on this, because I think this would be like, it's obviously an inspirational thing that you went and seen it through, did the whole thing. When you were doing it, were there, well, of course, there had to have been times when you were like, like some days that you were just like, have to push yourself to get in there and do another frame or do another piece.
Yeah, probably every day.
Yeah.
Like every day for like 8 years, maybe not like every day, every month, but like a lot of time because, you work with animation. Anybody who's ever animated knows this. And, I would actually even think it's like a little higher for what I did because I was doing it on my own. And I also, if you look at it, the backgrounds are pretty detailed and there's a lot going on. And I did it on a 2013 Mac. Actually, before that, it was like a 2007 Mac or something like that. And then I upgraded. I was like, oh, big deal.
Right.
One of those trash can ones. But the amount I would do was so complex. I would move so slow. So I could work like a week and I'd be lucky if I got like, 5 or 10 seconds sometimes.
Wow.
You work, a few days at a time, then you go to press play and like, boop. And you're like, all that work. And that's as far as I got. And then even just exporting it to see what it would look like that opening scene in the movie where it pans down to the audience and there's like hundreds of people in there.
Yeah.
Like those are all separate little people that I had to make. And, some of them I copy and paste and change the color of their clothes. And,
right.
And it just slows the machine down to a crawl to where I have to keep hiding layers of it and animating the characters separately. And then just to export it and see what it looks like would take like 8 or 9 hours. And that's just like a 15, 20-second opener.
Right.
So I'd have to go to bed and hope to export. And then in the morning, if I'm like, oh, motherfucker, I forgot to take this part off of here. I got to right. again overnight. And
right.
So, that kind of thing. And that can be absolutely maddening. I call it partly in some regards, it was almost working blind because you couldn't really see how it was all going to look at the end. I couldn't have the screen rendering all the time. I had to have it like very bare bones and sometimes hide a lot of things, even though they're interacting with other characters because the computers wasn't powerful enough to deal with what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons I get a little bit frustrated when people kind of like will just immediately pick on the animation. Like, oh, this, and this. I'm like, you have no fucking idea what I dealt with just to get it to look like this and with no experience. And I had to like really push it to the bounds of what my computer could do. And sometimes I had to pull back what I knew I could do better if I had more powerful tools at the time. But,
right.
So I'm real proud with how it came out. But yeah, it could be really frustrating, and that doesn't even get into the mixing of the music, which was maybe maybe almost the most frustrating part, and that was at the end. Oh, I wanted to just quit during that.
Well, speaking of the music, okay. For people that haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to really give anything away, but I'll give it you could tell what it's about, but you've said it probably a million times, so maybe you want to hear it from my perspective.
Sure, go ahead.
So it's basically,
I've never heard it from a cat, so
okay.
I've heard it from some groovy cats, but not an actual cat. So this should be really something.
All right. Well, first off, my favorite scene in the movie was the cats in the court. I got to admit. No. So the movie, it's a rock opera. It's set in the year, 2146?
2164.
2164.
By the end of it, it's 2165, which is why the line in the second song is only a year before in 2164. And that's very specific because it's the anniversary of the Beatles coming to America.
Nice.
So
okay.
That's why I did that.
So it's a rock musical, and it's about this character, Röckët Stähr. He's a clone who's made by this man, the creator, who has good intentions, but like all of us, sometimes those things go astray. And it's to rebel against what the world has turned into, which is kind of like a mirror of what the world is now, but a even more shittier version of complete control, and trying to get the message of being yourself, freedom, and all those things through Rocky. And so that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to give away everything, but it's a love story. It's super funny. In some parts, it's actually kind of bloody and gross, but I liked it.
Subversive, I like to call it.
Yes.
What's funny is while you were telling your whole thing, my screen went into commercials during all that. I hope it's not like that for everyone. Like as soon as you started telling what happened, I was like, commercial, and then the commercial ended right when you were finishing.
It may happen. Well, that's the thing about Twitch is that even if I turn that stuff, because once I had a certain amount of followers, they're like, yay, you're part of the affiliate program. And now you can make money off of ads. Like I never have, because.
But they do it in the middle of your stream.
Yeah. So some people will like have ads happening every 10 minutes or something, but it's usually people playing video games and stuff. But sorry about that. So yeah. So basically, I guess what I wanted to ask you was about actually not ask. I want to say that in the movie, there's so many influences and so many pop culture references that I like. The House of the Holy stuff, the Song Remains the Same stuff made me laugh out loud. It was so cool. Mary Tyler Moore was in there. It's awesome. So yeah, it's really great. But getting back to the music, like really good rock operas, sometimes you just can't pick your favorites. And this is one of those albums because one will come on and I'm like, yeah, that's the one. And then it goes to the next one. I'm like, no, actually, this is the one. And there's so many different varieties of stuff. You got the rockers, you got some ballad stuff in there. That's just great. But the beginning, the orchestration in the beginning, to me, for anybody, when they sit down to watch the movie, it's like, this is what it's going to be. And it's just so much pop going on, so much. And what I mean by pop is like, I heard that you had mentioned like in other interviews that the like Beatles' Yellow Submarine, that animation style as being like an influence, because it also was like, it worked well with what you were working with the animation stuff. And it's fabulous. So I'm gushing, but but it's the music. So when that's the one thing I
all you like.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Gush all you like.
Okay. Well, here's the funny thing is that in the movie, one of the themes is maybe not, completely idolizing somebody because you're not, well, so I don't want to be like that. Like, I don't want to be one of the people in the audience, but I kind of am. So it's okay. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about was like your beginnings. I want to hear some 70s stories. I want to hear some stuff from when you were a kid. Like what were some of the things that influenced you? Not just in music, but just like, what were some of your favorite things growing up?
Well, am I on this? I see you as a cat on there.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't see me or anything on the screen. I don't know what's going on there.
No, yeah, you're there.
Am I? Wow, I must be watching something else. I don't know. I can see you as a cat
Mm-hmm.
on my computer screen, like you're at a corner,
Yeah.
but I don't see. Maybe I'm on the wrong thing or something. I don't know.
Back on Twitch, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone else is saying in the chat they can see you.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Well, so it goes to show how much I know about Twitch. Okay, fine. All right, never mind. I'm just going to ignore that then because I think it's like distracting. I'm like, what is going on?
No. Everyone in here is super cool. Oh, here's somebody has a question. What does Röckët Stähr think of rock and roll?
What does what?
What do you think of the movie Rock and Roll?
Oh, it was good. It's funny because I didn't even know about it until partway through I was making this, and then a friend mentioned it to me, and she let me her Blu-ray. And it was obviously great animation. The story, I enjoyed it. I didn't like it like I love heavy metal, the movie. Like that was a real influence on me, even though that's not really a rock opera musical, but it's like it's something about that was just so great that I like the subversiveness of it. But rock and roll, it's obviously like a lost classic. And actually on the Blu-ray they had a making of, and the making of was pretty amazing how they did some of that animation. And I just learned today, I think, or yesterday, that was that company was supposed to actually do heavy metal, but they backed out to do rock and roll. And so then Ivan Reitman, I think it was, went and he then did he went and had the idea of doing a bunch of different animation houses to do the different scenes in heavy metal.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's obviously a classic. It wasn't an influence on me. But yeah.
Well, yeah. So going back, I kind of interrupted you. So going back to when you were growing up and stuff, it's like, what were some of the things what were you doing when you were a kid? Playing with Hot Wheels? What were you doing?
Well, it's funny you should say that because my grandfather worked at Mattel.
What?
So he would always bring home Hot Wheels to play with. We play with Hot Wheels, but really it was like, I kind of like they divide my life into like little parts, and it was almost like there was pre-Star Wars and there was post-Star Wars. Like the first big explosion of my life was when I was like 4, I guess, and it was like probably like late 1977, and my parents took me and my brother to a drive-in, the first and only real drive-in we've ever been to, on the back of their station wagon and our jammies, and we saw Star Wars. And I can still picture the freaking Star Destroyer coming down over the screen. I felt like it took like an hour in my little 4-year-old mind. It takes like 10 seconds or whatever, but like it just felt enormous, and it's like mind blown. And everything after that was so you had to have Star Wars toys and everything had to be Star Wars. Of course, there was Legos and shit like that. And I think that was sort of like almost like the beginning of like my imagination. For a 4-year-old to see that. Nowadays, it's almost hard to kind of take that into consideration because there's so much like that out there, and with the internet and everything. But back then, in 1977. You didn't see shit like that.
Mm-mm.
And to see on a big screen all this fucking fighting in face and a big giant guy in black armor with a light sort of like, it was like, what the fuck is this, man? Like I want everything to be like this. And so that just blew everything open. And I'd say around the same time was when the Muppet Show came out. And of course, Legos were big, and all that stuff like is really kind of like what probably, started the creativity in my mind. And also as kids, you're always drawing dinosaurs and stuff. And I remember drawing dinosaurs a lot. And And my father was a dancer, and so he would listen to a lot of kind of Broadway music, like the original Chicago soundtrack in the 70s,
Nice.
for the Broadway play, and a chorus line and stuff like that. And so that was in the back of I'd hear that. And my brother had inherited somebody's Beatles records. I don't know if it was my cousin or my mother's or what. And we listened to those, like mostly like the early Beatles stuff, but some of the mid late stuff too. And that was like from, again, an early age, 4 or 5 years old. So those were kind of like the first things that really, I would say, sparked my imagination and creativity. Then you get into the 80s, and I became a really big horror buff in the 80s, and really big into top 40 radio. That like the mid 80s, like about 84 to about 87 was just the best period of top 40 pop radio. There was something very uniquely melodic and amazing about the songwriting going on at that point, and the talent pool. I don't know if I'm going off on a tangent here.
No.
But if you ever see the We Are the World documentary on Netflix.
Didn't know there was one.
Oh, it's amazing. I forget what it's called, but just, Google We Are the World documentary, Netflix. And when you see not just how it was made, Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson wrote the song, but when you see the talent pool of the people who come there, and this is just the American side. The UK had their own. Do they know?
Do they know it's Christmas?
With all the talent there, like these voices and the talent that was there between Cyndi Lauper and Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and Bruce Springsteen and it's unbelievable, really. And they didn't even have people like Madonna and that there. Some people weren't even there. And like, so the amount of amazing artists in that period, to me, as far as at least the top 40 radio, was very unique. And the songwriting was very colorful and melodic. And I think that had a very big influence on my sense of melody. And then the next chapter would have been when Appetite for Destruction came out from Guns N' Roses. And that turned me into a rock guy, completely changed my life forever, for better or for worse.
Right.
Before that, I had wanted to be a special effects artist because I was really into the Nightmare on Elm Street and all the 80s horror was great. The 80s were an amazing period for pop culture. Not just the radio, but like it's right before the digital age. So right before like computers made all like, the graphics and started becoming a big thing with Jurassic Park onward. And it was like you had gotten out of the 60s and 70s. So there's animatronics and stuff really came into their being. And there's so many cool movies from The Dark Crystal to Labyrinth to Neverending Story to Return to Oz, that just have these really cool special effects that are part mechanical and part makeup. And of course, then the horror movie spree that happened in the 80s with the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Halloween movies and the Friday the 13th and things like Reanimator, the more underground kind of stuff was just an amazing time for that. And so, and of course, Star Wars and all that stuff coming up from Industrial Light to Magic, and E.T. And it was a pretty amazing time for a young kid's imagination to be growing, and things like the Transformers came out and stuff, and so yeah, I would say all of that combined stirred up into a big pot, created this monstrosity you see sitting here before you.
Well, to interject two things, you talking
How
about
dare you interject?
you talking about heavy metal. So I saw heavy metal when it came out. And within a week, I had painted a mural of Hanover Fisk on my bedroom wall.
I got an angle.
I got an angle. Because that, to me, anyway. But the other thing is that when you mentioned Star Wars, so I'm a little bit older than you, not by much. But I was 12 when Star Wars came out. Honey Badger's actually my sister. And I went and saw Star Wars about a week after it came out. And I, too, it was, like you said, there's life before Star Wars and life after Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then you just now we're talking about all the special effects stuff. So my thing, I loved all, I could talk Star Wars for hours. But for me it was the creatures, the Jawas, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And instantly that was it. I'm like, I'm going to be a special effects makeup artist. I mean, you're saying that.
You too, huh?
Oh yeah. And then, so it's like, I got a subscription to Fangoria magazine.
Fangoria.
Got Tom Savini's book. Like,
quick, my first exposure to Fangoria was when I was about a year after this stuff. When I was like 5, my parents signed me up for piano lessons. Apparently, I was very enthusiastic about learning. My brother had already started taking guitar lessons, and I got this teacher, and my enthusiasm died pretty quickly because he was like an alcoholic guy, and it was in like this dark back room of this music store with barely any light, and this old beat up upright piano, and like him hovering over me with the alcohol breath and stuff. It was like basically
and a rotten
like the
tooth.
start of a horror movie. It could have been, but his son must have been into Fangorias because there were Fangoria magazines in the back sitting out. I didn't know what I was like 5 years old, and I just remember seeing these covers with these horrid things on the top and Fangoria. And then, of course, then later on in the 80s, when I got into horror movies, it was like Fangoria was the magazine to get. There were other ones too, but like, nothing was better than Fangoria.
Right, man. So I'm going to shift here, and I want to get back to some music stuff.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I think it would be redundant to be like, so what are some of your influences? Because it's pretty evident with, when you check out the movie, the way that you look right now. I don't think that you would be, singing Phil Collins songs, which is not to say that he doesn't have a few good ones, but my question.
I will tell you something real quick.
Yeah.
People look at me and think that Kiss was an influence on me.
Really?
They weren't. I'm a huge Kiss fan now, but I became a fan about partway through making the movie. It's maybe a long story. I won't really get into it right now, but I wasn't to start. But I did start wearing the makeup because I saw a video of Gene and Paul playing once. And I was like, yeah, they look so much younger with the makeup on than their age. And I thought, well, I'm approaching 50 now. Maybe I'll start wearing.
Why do you think I'm a cat?
You look a lot younger.
I look great.
People think that I was influenced by Kiss, but I wasn't. But I do love them.
Well, the other thing that I've seen, I've read, I've heard, when people are talking about the different influences and the different sounds that they hear in the movie, people keep bringing up ELO. And I think that's, probably in part due to the fact that there's a lot of orchestration in different songs. Mm-hmm. But I would postulate to say, yes, that everyone's like, Jeff Lynne. I adore Jeff Lynne. My bucket list was I got to see them in 2018 at the Hollywood Bowl, and it was 46 years in the making.
Oh, nice. I keep trying to see a show at Hollywood Bowl, and it keeps going wrong. Yeah. I was supposed to see Ozzy there around the same time, and the show got canceled.
Wow. But are you going to get a chance to see them on tour? Did you get tickets to see ELO?
I just saw them a couple weeks ago.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow. Where'd you see them?
Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. I did see them back in 2019 or so.
Mm-hmm. That's when I saw them.
I want to say at Radio City Music Hall. Mm-hmm. It was a wonderful show. I mean, they played there's so many great songs, and they could have done a whole nother set with just as many great songs. There was a little bit of sadness there because Jeff Lynne, he forgot the lyrics a number of times. And I thought, well, maybe it's an off night, but a lot of other people, and I looked it up, and other people have been noticing it. And I write the lyrics to my stuff all the time,
right?
Mind you, but he's at a big, huge concert, could have monitors on the stage, and something just seemed a little off, and it got me wondering if there was any kind of reason why he was ending touring. If maybe there's a little, I hate to speculate, but if there's a little.
But you're talking about this recent show.
This recent show.
Yeah.
That said, it was a great show. So they had a bunch of professional musicians and stuff, and sounded amazing and all that. And he's a genius. Clearly.
Well, so my postulation.
Postulation. Sorry, I interrupted the postulating.
I think that the orchestration parts sound more like Roy Wood's ELO, i.e., their first album. Are you familiar with that? There's a lot. Yeah, there's more. Their first album is definitely more.
Look at me now, right?
I'm sorry.
Look at me now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's what my wife.
Wow. So anyway, yeah, that's my opinion. I'm like, well, okay, if you're going to mention ELO, I think it's early ELO because they lean pretty heavily on like these huge orchestral things that don't even have lyrics and these weird time signatures and stuff.
Yeah, I would say neither.
Neither.
Okay, so here's a weird thing, and it's funny. I mean, I've loved ELO since I was a teenager, but I never thought of them as an influence until recent years when some people mentioned to me. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Duh. It kind of is. Like they kind of obviously clearly are. Some of my songs, directly, but like in recent years, but like that's not where I got that stuff. It's not why I started doing the orchestration and all. It had nothing to do with. If anything, I was going more for when I originally started. It was more along the lines I was doing sort of an early Elton John kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So the influences were more from like the Paul Buckmaster strings.
Yeah.
On those early Elton John records, just wonderful work on Mad Men Across the Water.
Yeah.
The strings on there are amazing.
Yep.
So that was really the big influence. Also George Martin's, stuff on the Beatles work, and beyond that, at the time when I was doing it, I was really into Beethoven. And had gotten also into Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue at the same time. And so I was listening to a ton of Beethoven, mainly the symphonies, but also some of his string quartets, his Grosse Fugue, and a lot of Brahms too. Brahms 4 symphonies and his themes on a variation from Haydn. Those were very influential on me. And doesn't sound very rock and roll, although Beethoven is very fucking rock and roll. Maybe I'll put that aside. When you read his life's, his biography and stuff, I used to know enough about him to be able to teach a class, but that was a long time ago. You were talking 30-something years ago, or about 30, a little less than 30 maybe. But yeah, so it was really when I was getting back into playing the piano in my early 20s after having not done anything on piano for years, and really kind of starting to learn how to make the instrument my own around that same time. My first wife had bought me, for some reason, she found these bargain CDs on the street, and one was of Beethoven's 6th and 7th symphonies, I think it was, or 7th and 8th, and another was Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue.
Great song.
Conducted by Leonard Bernstein. And that one blew my mind open. There was that one I would have to go back further. I had already heard that on the radio. It blew my mind. I mentioned it to her. That's why I probably should pick that up. And at the same time, she picked up this Beethoven CD because they had that too. And I guess it's all coming back to me now. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, okay, it's nice. And the second movement from Beethoven's 7th Symphony starts. And another one of these blew my fucking mind wide open. It was so dark, so dramatic, the way it builds in the beginning of the second movement of Beethoven's 7th Symphony. If you've never heard it, go check it out. It is drama, and it builds into this crescendo, this beautiful crescendo, and blew my mind. So that's where my mind was starting to think around then. And, I'm not getting into the whole story of my life, but I had just started retaking up the piano. I had been into this Elton John record from the early 70s. It was a live record. One of the things that broke him in the US was this live show, and they made a live record out of it, 11/17/70. It's just him with the bass and drums, and it was a lot different from he does stuff from his first 2 records.
Yeah.
But it's not like all orchestrated and pretty. It's him banging the shit out on the piano, and the bass player and the drummer just do an amazing job of the trio. And it was very influential on me at the time. I was trying to put together a little combination like that, but I wasn't really a good enough piano player. And I went to the Bitter End in New York City for something. I must have been a friend who was playing there that night. And there was a band playing there. And I don't know why I remember their name, because I don't usually remember some random band's name at a small club. They were called Jump Little Children. And they had a cellist. And I'm listening to them play. I'm listening to the cello player go. And it just hit me. I thought, like, that's what my little combination needs.
Mm.
I need a cellist. And that was sort of the first thing that started the ball rolling into me eventually teaching myself how to orchestrate and then trying to do things with quartets and then seven piece. And here we are today, you know?
That's what, that was a question that I really wanted to know was, you said that you were doing some piano stuff when you were a kid and then you didn't, and then you started doing it again.
Yeah.
How did you?
Well, because I played piano from when I said I was
you said 5 or something?
4 or something like that. 5. Yeah, I guess it was 5. It was about a year after the Star Wars thing, somewhere around there. Who knows? I was very small. And I never got very good at all because, again, that kind of situation is not exactly conducive to creativity. It's like the anti-Star Wars,
Right.
being in a darkened room with an old piano and a guy, I didn't know it was alcohol in his breath until late years later when I realized what that smell was.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am drinking beer, but it's not quite the same thing. And so, I just didn't have as much interest in getting any good, and I never got any good. And I took lessons for probably a good 10 years before I finally started playing guitar. And so I just kind of abandoned it. But in my early 20s, I kind of got an interest again of because I got into also when Tori Amos came out, I loved her and I became a big Tori Amos fan. And that and both Elton John, hearing that 11, 17, 7, I had always loved Elton John since I was a kid and Billy Joel, but I couldn't really hear it underneath the production in a way to where I could think how the piano would work for you,
Mm-hmm.
I've got my keyboard sitting right here in front of me.
Oh.
And it's like,
are you going to play something?
Buried, if you listen to a Billy Joel song or an Elton John song, of course you can hear the piano and stuff, but there's so much going on. I just couldn't think of how that instrument speaks. How do you make that work for you as an artist?
Right.
Until I heard 11, 17, 70. It was so stripped down, just the piano, bass, and drums. And Elton John's doing all these. I don't know if you can hear that.
No.
But, no, you can't hear that? No. Oh.
Is it cranked?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's got a maybe Zoom is blocking it for noise cancellation.
Fuck you! You can't play music on here. That's musical Zoom. You have to sign up for Music Zoom. Okay. Anyway,
yeah, it's another $5 a month.
It's another $5 a month. So the point is, when I heard that, I could kind of hear what was going. I could hear and be like, "That's how you make it sing. That's how you make it work for you." And so there was a guy who used to come into the coffee shop I worked at. He's only a few years older than me, a jazz pianist. And I asked him if he can give me lessons. He was like, well, sure. And he taught me there's just a couple of things in those lessons that just clicked in my mind and made me start realizing how to use the piano to write and to work for me and reclaiming this instrument that I had played at that point for I don't know, 16, 17 years or whatever, and not learned a damn thing beyond do, 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 do. And now, I'm a decently robust pianist as far as at least my own stuff goes. I don't play anything. I play my own shit. It's kind of almost like a little more complicated than I should probably even be playing. But that just taught me. So my playing ends up being a bit of a combination of Tori Amos and Elton John, though, being about a fifth as good as either of them.
Right.
But so that's kind of what my journey was for the piano. So it's kind of my main instrument, really. I write on both instruments, and of course I play guitar on my recordings and all that. But the piano it's still sort of my home base, I guess you could say.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, you had to write the orchestration parts for the quartet, right?
Yeah.
How? That's what I'm saying. When did that come into play? Is there a piece of software, or were you actually writing it by hand?
No, you have to write it by hand. Well, I was so insistent that Beethoven didn't have computers, so I had to write it by hand.
Yeah, yeah.
So especially early on, I'm writing all the notes down and playing them and writing them, and then you had to pay these musicians, so I had to cross my fingers that it actually worked when they would see the music and play it.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it always did. So it started off small. At first, I got a cellist, like I told you after I had heard that band and decided I put some ads up. Back then, you you just put like a flyer up in every like rehearsal space you could find or whatever.
Right.
And eventually somebody
Yeah,
called. And
Guitar Center.
so, yeah. And at first I didn't think anything about writing the part on my own. So she would just kind of come up with her own parts. Maybe I would hum something to her, play something on the piano. And so in kind of like in working with her, I think a little bit, I kind of thought like, okay, I can kind of see what she's doing working between what I'm doing. And again, I was listening to a lot of Elton John, a lot of Beethoven. So I'm absorbing all this stuff. And I must have worked with her for maybe 4 or 5 months. And then she went away for whatever reason. And then I just started thinking, well, I kind of have my own ideas for what I hear going on. I should be writing this. So I'd start writing and writing. And what's funny is that the first couple of years of writing, and nobody told me this till at some point somebody did, like I was subdividing the notes wrong, which is kind of funny because I had learned how to read music since I was a kid. But like I didn't really think of it much or absorb it too much. So I was writing the notes and like they're full. I don't know if anybody knows anything about writing music. Like, you've got to kind of subdivide the notes, the beats and the measure, and like tie them together. You don't just write the full note out.
Wow.
Somehow they were making it work, but at some point the cellist was like, "Yeah, you
don't
my
have to."
Next cellist." It was like 2 years down the line. I'm like, well, "Why didn't somebody tell me that?"
Right. It would have saved you a lot of hand cramps.
Yeah, and I think that people might have played myself a little bit better too, because I didn't realize they were struggling to mathematically divide what I had written. Nobody told me.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a learning process, and each time I started with just writing for the cello, and then I tried to write for a quartet, and then I did a demo in like 96, 97 maybe, where I actually did some songs that were a string quartet and a tuba, a trumpet, and a trombone or something like that. And that went well. So then you take it to the next level and, that kind of thing. You just build upon it and build upon it,
Well, I have to say, you are definitely an inspiration to me because I myself, I play music, I play guitar, but last year I bought an 88 key, fully weighted keyboard.
Yeah.
And it sits against the wall because like my previous experiences, like, okay, I'm going to make a new wave song, beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop, playing on a stupid little MIDI synthesizer. It's like, well, you can do that or whatever. It's easy. But to do the kind of stuff that I want to do, I have to learn, Yeah. And so with my name, GENXVR, I like to do a lot of stuff in VR. And they do have an app that with my headset, it's mixed reality. So it's almost kind of like that one game, I guess, Guitar Hero or something, where the notes come down, right? But what's cool is you can set it where the song will not continue until you hit the key, and then you can set it another way where it just plays, so you're trying to match the bars as they're coming down, but but I'm looking at my keyboard in real life. I can see my hands while I'm wearing the VR with this overlay. So I have no excuses. I should be doing that. But someone in the audience, someone that I may or may not know of in real life, Hot Braised Pork said, "Do we have any clips from the film?" And I say, yes. So if you would indulge me, I'm going to play the trailer.
Sure.
All right. And I'll mute myself. So if I cough or fart, it won't get picked up on the... All right. So everybody, here's Rockstar's Death of a Rock Star. So yeah, what you were hearing there, those weren't MIDI packs. That wasn't some pre-recorded piano.
Nope.
That was him.
That was
So
me.
bow down to your new Lord and Master, Röckët Stähr.
I finally, while that was going on, I finally figured out that what I was watching a stream from like 11 days. That's why I was.
Like, this show sucks.
Now I see your setup there.
Oh, not this is
Now
you. I've been
finally. I see as a Death of a Rock Star poster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mad magazine. I used to collect Mad and Cracked magazines when I was a kid. I ton of it. But nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Finally.
I didn't have
Let's
all
rewind
these.
to 7:30 now and start again. Now that I see.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said, okay, let's rewind now.
Yeah,
7:30.
we're gonna start over.
Again.
So yeah.
Oh, now I see some people talking too in the chat. Okay.
Oh, good. Yeah, they've been talking all this whole time.
I'll go.
So yeah, some of these posters I had, you got the Kiss 76. But I got a little Easter egg is, Honey Badger, you're still here, right? This is one of the funniest things that ever happened to me in my life. When I was about 5 years old, my sister had this poster of David Cassidy, this exact poster. And when she wasn't around, I thought he would look really good with a Snidely Whiplash handlebar mustache. So there was a purple marker and I drew on it. And then I sat on her bed and waited for her to come into the room. And when she discovered it, she said shit like, you motherfucker, and ripped it off the wall. But when she ripped it off the wall, it was even funnier because the marker had bled through the wall and the mustache was still on the wall. So it was a double joke. It was awesome.
When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I had a big poster of Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd on my wall because I was a huge Moonlighting fan.
Nice.
And my jackass older brother defaced that. And I was pretty pissed off. I didn't say anything because, it was, my friends around, so I had to pretend like I didn't care. But I cared. I loved that poster. I just left it up because, whatever. But yeah.
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 So I'm going to do a little marketing pitch right now.
Okay.
So
does anyone have any questions on there though?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing this. We're going to get questions, but people need to know.
Right.
This.
They need to know.
There. You go to this site and you get shit. Support an artist like this guy.
Right.
You get some cool shit, man.
In my double vinyl pre-sale that's going on right now.
Yep. He's putting it out. Now, what's that all about? Like, and I don't mean like, why did you do that? But more like, how is that for you? As far as the process of, like getting that all together?
Yeah. I mean, I work with a marketing coach. This is how you've heard of my movie, really. It's kind of a long thing to get into, but, I finished this and, got the mastering for the music and everything done literally like a day or two, I think, after New York City shut down for COVID. That's when I had to traverse into the city when it was like a ghost town. And so between then and this year, I've done a lot of things. I had it, went to some film festivals, and then it was shopped. Or I kind of did a trial run of my own self-release in, I think, late 2020, early 21, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of pulled away from that. It was only a few months or so. Then I tried because I got approached by an agent to try to shop it around to distributors. They're like, you should really go for a bigger distributor. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should, And, I got a lot of offers and this and that and the other thing. But, the deal points just were not very good, I didn't want to give it up and have it become one of these just like lost movies that you never hear anything about.
Right.
The distributor basically buries it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a write-off. I did end up getting picked by one very, small but startup company, and then they shit the bed too. So I was able to get my movie back from them.
Good.
So then after that, I decided everybody's like, oh, put it on, Film Hub, it's called, where an independent filmmaker can put their movie on there.
Yeah.
Then places like Tubi and Roku, they might scout it out and pick it up, and it did. Got picked up by Tubi TV and Roku channel and some stuff like that, and it was on there for about a year and a half. And it was just like, it was almost just like taking my movie and burying it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like being like, oh, all those years of work, and it's just like there.
Yeah,
and
lost
it
in a
gets
sea of
buried
other.
amongst 8,000 million movies on each of these channels. Since I'm not like a big name, or I don't have big names in my movie, it's not like they're promoting it or putting it up front. So it's like people, I'm sure, watched it here and there, but I never heard from anybody.
Wow.
You don't hear, it's not what they do, because it's more casual viewers that might see it pop up. They might watch a little bit of it. They might watch the whole thing and like it, but they don't really think much of it. So it was on there for about a year and a half. I literally made about $100 from it. And then it cost me about that much to have them take it down. So it was so this is all the stuff that it's gone on for. This is why I kind of laugh. People are like, you should put it up for free. You should do this and you should do that. I'm like, you really don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
You haven't done this with this kind of movie. And they don't understand what I'm trying to build an audience. I'm trying to build, a fan base that I can talk to and I can reach out to, that I can, present them with my next musical projects through an email list and this and that and the other thing. And doing what I started working with the point I'm getting at is I started working with a marketing coach earlier this year. And that's when I started doing this push where I'm advertising on Facebook and Instagram. And it's been just the greatest thing that I've done. That's how you heard of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known.
Other people that I've heard that I've, it's going to be playing at a movie theater in Texas at the end of October.
On my birthday.
Our picture show.
On my birthday, right? October 25th.
Yeah, that's right. You said your birthday was. And things like that are going on that never would have gone on. It didn't go on after a year and a half of Tubi and Roku channel where people could just kind of watch it.
Right.
It's reaching people who, by selling it by virtue of DVD and Blu-ray, and yes, sometimes they come with a digital download or whatever, it's more tangible. And it's reaching people who, if they're willing to do that, they're largely likely to be really into it.
Yeah.
They've already seen the ads and this and that. And then when they're like, I'm going to pay for this, they have more of a connection to it. And then I email them more about me and we talk, and it becomes more of a real thing, and it's really helped me build what I want this movie to be. And I'm trying to build it up slowly into an underground kind of cult classic kind of thing. So that brings me around to the vinyl release. He was telling me from the very beginning, you really should put some of your stuff out on vinyl. And I'm like, that's a big fucking lift, man. That's a lot. And it really is. It's a lot to do. And somebody said I just bought the DVD.
Yeah, Margot.
Toronto, Margot.
You're going to love it.
And, I was going to put, because I also put a new self-titled CD out earlier this year as well.
I love it.
Marketing things.
I love it.
And funny, when you say, you tried to write a synthwave song, my first synthwave song ever is on there, Galactic Pioneers.
Nice.
But I was going to put that out first. I'd never released a vinyl before. And I was like, just a single record would be easy. But I kept getting people asking me, oh, is this available on vinyl? Is this available on vinyl? When's it going to be? And I just thought, like, you have to listen to your market. To put out the self-titled one as my first vinyl would be kind of negligent in a way as an artist to what my audience wants. So I bit the bullet and I was like, okay, well, let me take this massive project on, and see how it goes. And so far the response has been really great response. The pre-sale ends on December 6th. One of the things about the pre-sale, if you get it before that, is that you get your name in the thank you area on the booklet that will be coming with the record. It's a double record, and it's going to be it's a really cool package. I'm going to, do kind of lyrics will be in this booklet that comes with it, and sort of a short retelling of how I made the movie, and little blurbs also about each song, about what that song is actually about.
Excellent.
So some of them they were written before the movie and they were about something else, and I talk a little bit about each song. So, and that's an ongoing thing. I'm working on that right now. So that's been going great, and I'm he pushed me to do it, and that's what a good coach does, I guess. And I'm very happy about that, because people have been very excited that I decided to finally put it out on vinyl. Something like this, it should be, because that's what it is. It's a throwback
Mm-hmm.
to like the 70s and 80s and stuff. And when I was originally doing all this music, before it became a movie, I wanted it to be a double record. I wasn't really thinking vinyl at the time, because this was 2007 when vinyl was still dead, but a double record anyway of just a bunch of my songs that I'd had over the years.
Right.
So to be doing this now, it's available on double CD if anybody's interested. On my web store, it's deathoforockstore.com. It's been available on double CD for a good few years, but the vinyl release, I'm really excited. I want a copy.
Yeah, and it's purple too.
I'm kind of excited that it's going to be done like double vinyl. I've never been on vinyl, so
well, it's interesting.
That's what the deal is with that.
Well,
my rambling.
When you were saying that, it was making me think about you talking about the Tubi stuff. Putting it out there like that, it's like, it's just, doesn't, and then this is not a knock. Obviously, I love your stuff, but it's like at that point, it just becomes disposable media, because you're lost in this sea of other, cooking shows. And so you think you can dance part 25. And the fact that you've now went to this part, to doing a vinyl, it's that tactile thing that you can actually look at, and it's cool. It's cool. It's just nice. And I really think it's awesome.
Yeah, like you say, the disposable thing. And, I'm not saying, like, I'm not anti-digital or anything. The soundtrack is actually on Spotify and other streaming services. And, of course, I utilize it, myself and all. But there is that disposableness of it, where it's like there's a billion movies on there. Clicking through, you might watch this for a few minutes, might watch it, not really care, and then write something crappy on my thing. So every movie and everybody's project is different.
Right.
For some people, that's the best movie, and they do get a lot of streams. It's got maybe name actors, even though it's an indie or this and that and the other thing. For mine, the way to do it, the people who are into this kind of music and this kind of movie, they still get it, that there is something to owning something physical along with it. And it's like, it's an event. When people buy it and they get it in the mail, it just feels different. You're getting this product, and I have people that tell me, a ton of people, they have watch parties over it. They get the DVD or Blu-ray in the mail, and they invite a bunch of their friends over a week later, and then they watch it, and they're all messaging me about it and stuff. So there's that kind of thing. It makes it more of an event. If it went as a streaming on Roku and Tubi, nobody was having fucking watch parties for it.
Right. Right.
It's like, it wasn't exciting. It wasn't unique. You didn't see this thing that you discovered and understand what it is. And, so it's just been a wonderful thing. You get trolls here and there that are like, what is this, 1995? You're selling Blu-rays, DVDs. And I get it. People think physical media is dead. And yes, it's smaller than it used to be. But there is just something to it that is, it's made this more than it had been before.
Yeah, it's another piece of art. And and what's cool about it is that, to be able to do this now, it's like, like somebody making that comment, it's like, well, it's not like I'm printing, 50,000 of them at once. It's like, you can make it for the audience. And which, by the way, what is it? It's like, if you get it now, $50, right?
I wish I was making 50,000 at once.
No, I'm saying for people to pre-order the album.
Oh, right. No, the pre-order, the pre-order is $55. And for a double record with a booklet, and it will come with a fold-out poster of one of the scenes that people like in it. This is the whole rock gods, a bunch of bands on it, and a Röckët Stähr sticker, and there will be a cool sticker of Rocky Star, a new one.
Nice.
And there's going to be one, and I'm going to sign them Röckët Stähr, not personalized, because it's a whole nightmare with that sometimes. But I'm going to sign them, and I'm going to hand number them, probably on the back. And there's going to be one other kind of bonus product that I'm going to announce during Black Friday that will be coming with them. It's going to be retroactively added to people who've already bought and to the people who buy it then. But it's a little exclusive there for you.
Well,
that'll be coming. So there's a lot of cool things in this package,
Well, I'm going to be getting mine. I'm going to be ordering mine on the 1st when I get paid.
Awesome.
And what I'm hoping, maybe you could do this just for me. Is that when you were saying there was an extra special thing that's going to be coming, my brain immediately was like, you're going to give everyone that orders one a used beat up guitar pick that's infused with your rock goodness. Because I love that stuff. I believe in mojo, you know. It's like I have a couple of like it's like, oh man, that dude, I gotta get now when I use it, I'll be as good as him.
That is not what it is.
No, okay.
I would like to eventually make Röckët Stähr picks. At some point, I probably will make Röckët Stähr picks.
That's awesome. No, I know actually what it's going to be. It's going to be a throwback to Alice Cooper's Schools Out album, and each double album you will get a used pair of his underwear.
I'm going to chop my fingers off, and I'm going to each little one. Everybody's going to get a little slice.
Nice.
A little slice of
Nice. Well, we're at the hour mark, and
oh wow,
I could keep going, but I know how it is for you because it's 8:30 where you are, and I don't normally drink that often, every couple years, but when I do,
I'm almost out of beer, and I have my wife sitting in a darkened room behind me.
Aw. Well, I was going to say,
finish.
Go on.
But
yes.
If we have any questions, I could take a few minutes to take any questions that anybody's had, because I did tell people if they logged on that they could do a Q&A.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see if there's any.
I'm scrolling back up. I have that ability.
Oh.
I'm seeing, or maybe people can start saying what they were asking. Doopy doopy doo. Yeah, if you guys could write a question again, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, so like 5 minutes or so, see if any questions come up. And
yeah, if you have any questions.
Somebody said they love Röckët Stähr and Sacred Jimmy.
That would be me, Jimmy. Jimmy.
Mystic Fjorge. Thank you, Mystic Fjorge.
Cassandroid. I asked your favorite makeup brand, but I've been in and out.
Well, Meron, I think, is the name of the white that I use, and the powder. I think they make the purple that I use. My makeup bag's actually in the kitchen, so I'm not sure. So I think it's Meron is what most of my stuff is. I think Ben Nye is where the purple might come from. So I use a combination of Ben Nye and Meron. I think the gold that I'm using might come from a different company, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, people are saying that.
Yeah, and then the beard, the stuff that I put on my beard, that's a whole nother product. Like it's just a bunch of goop, some purple like hair, like wash out hair dye.
Okay,
I just kind of goop onto my face.
Nice, nice.
I was gonna say makeup. What makeup?
Yeah, what makeup? This is me.
Yeah, totally blew the chance there.
But yeah, while people are, let's see, been here under a different name. Oh, okay.
No. Cassandroid. That's a cool name.
So yeah, I have to say I was really impressed. One thing that I didn't mention before about the movie is that there's no static shots. You know, it moves like basically. I mean, it's not as well. What am I trying to say? When you saw the trailer, trailers are cut to be a little bit more pop, 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 pop. But the movie's still pretty pop, 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 pop. There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah,
I just kind of when I animated it, it was very stream of conscience, the animating, and you just figure it's like you can't. It's not a real life person. So you can't just kind of like have somebody sitting there and talking, and the other person talking. So I just felt like for my own, like I wanted to keep moving. Like there's always something changing into something else, or somebody moving when they're talking, and the scene changes into something else. And it's just that to me was made it more interesting, fun, and also probably what made it take so much time. It was so difficult, but at the same time, it's like I think it gives it a very unique flair and feel. The fact that it just doesn't really stand still. Like there's very few scenes that are just the characters talking, singing, talking, they're singing, but that it's usually moving from idea to idea and reference to reference, like
with the music, basically. You notice a lot of things like they either change scenes or somebody moves along with the beat of the music or how
Yeah.
it goes. So it's almost like choreographed to it. And that was very on purpose because just I want it to be as fun as possible. And it is one of those things that it's almost impossible to get across in the ads. And a lot of people like they'll watch the ads and they're interested. They buy the movie, then they're much more blown away when they see the movie. They're like, oh my God, it's so much more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I thought the animation was going to be a little more clunky, and then I saw it all together and how it flowed and kind of made sense in context, and I was so much better. It's like you just can't really get that across in ads. I've put out a few full scenes that maybe get a little bit better, but even that, without seeing how those scenes flow into the others and how they all fit together, it's really hard to get that across that it's a very unique piece in its regard.
Yeah, and it has so many different influences going on. You got all these vibes, little nods to things, not just to the pop culture stuff, but to different animated movies. There's that one scene with what's the character's name? Is it Holly?
Ronnie Way.
Okay, so when she's...
Which is both because, like, the characters in my original script, they're the rock star, the runaway,
right,
the creator. And very late in the game is when I started calling them Rocky Star, Ronnie Way, Creator, changing those names. And I went with Ronnie over Rhonda because it's a bit of a reference to Ronnie Spector. And the big song that most people like, 60 Summer Heartbreak, is, of course, a nod to the Ronettes and early 60s girl group. So it's only all that. There's all these weird cult little pop reference tie-ins that go along with it all.
Yeah. But that one scene in particular where she's confronting the mom and dad, I was like, oh, this kind of has that Pink Floyd vibe, and like the whatever, good morning, Your Honor, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But there's that kind of stuff that's in it. But it's its own thing, and it's just so fucking cool, man. It's really cool.
Well, that's the thing, and I feel like I wear my influences on my sleeve quite clearly, and even on my vest. But I do, and it's a thing that I consider myself a bit of a revivalist in that regard. But at the same time, when you do that, and I think I do this well, you have to make it feel fresh. You can do all these influences, you can echo Queen and echo Bowie in that, but if you don't have a bit of originality and if you don't mix it up in your own way that makes it something special and unique, then it's just going to sound like a rehash or kind of like, I'm going to get in so much trouble for this, and I don't mean to be mean.
I know what you're going to say.
The first time I heard Greta Van
Fleet. I knew you were going to say Greta Van Fleet.
I swear to God, the first time I heard the song, I thought it was Zeppelin. And if you squint, it's almost like, oh God, yeah, this could have been a Lost Zeppelin song, which isn't bad. It was a cool song, but it was like there was nothing new being brought to the table to make it fresh, to make it like you take your influences, you can wear them on your sleeve, but you need to build on top of that, or you need to mix them up differently, So and of course they're great and they're out there doing it and they're way bigger than I am and from what I understand they've grown a little further and all that but yeah, so it's like, to me it's like you can reference your influences and be that thing and build on top of the classics. You can go backwards and not to be like, oh, everything's got to be modern. You can go back, but then kind of make it your own. You have to make it feel fresh and new, and that's what I was trying to do with every aspect of this, trying to make it feel like it could have come out of the 70s and has all those influences, but yet it's its own special thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands where, I'll hear the beginning of the song and I'm like, okay, go on. And then they get to the chorus and I'm like, it has the melodies. It's got the drums, like say if it's like a pop punk kind of thing, that I'm like, oh, you did it by the numbers, like it doesn't even feel, it's just kind of, and to me, what breaks up those kind of songs, because you can do something that sounds just like something else, but it's adding your own little flavors, maybe adding an instrument that wouldn't be there for just like a little arpeggio or something, because then at least it takes a break.
Cassandra always said, I love the concept of squinting with your ears. Yes.
Oh, squinting my
I did
ears.
it. Squishing them a little bit. Like,
Oh yeah, I can do that. But yeah, it's so yeah, I just have to say again, it's super cool, and I really like the new album. I have been obsessed with the song "Sick," because when it goes into that, and maybe I do mind, like that. That's the, and then it's the bum bum bam, bum bum. It's just that little bend on the guitar that I'm like I'm always looking for the hooks. Right. And you got so many hooks in your songs that I want to hear that part, like I'm waiting to hear it's coming. I'm that guy, where it's like, oh, wait.
Yeah. And I think that might be because that influence from, that mid 80s top 40 radio thing that was just full of melody and hooks at that point in time. And in pop, that it influenced then my rock writing when I got into rock. Like I needed melody. I mean, of course, I also like love Aerosmith and bands like that. There's look, the verses of that song "Sick" are very very straight, but then it goes into the chorus and the other areas. There's got to be that melody. There's got to be these parts that kind of hook you into that. And to me, melody is always. I mean, the Beatles,
right?
Biggest influence, the Beatles and Queen probably, and it's just melody galore in those bands,
Yeah,
it can be heavy, but it can still have melody.
And still have the hooks, exactly.
Melodic, and
that's the thing. I mean, it's like just a good rock song, like an AC/DC kind of band,
Bye, Cassandra. Cassandroid.
What's that? Oh, bye.
Cassandroid said she's leaving, so I said bye.
Thanks for coming. But like you have just like, good rock songs or, throwbacky indie garage type stuff, where it's like, what's coming. There's no surprises, but they do a good job, and it's like, so there's songs have, there's even the regular pop stuff. It's like, it has its place, but to me, the winners are the ones that throw a little curveball in there where your ears are like, ooh, I wasn't, because I'm usually like anticipating. It's like, all right, they're going to go to this part, and most of the time they kind of do, but sometimes they don't. And that's where it's at.
Hey, I try to add, I'll leave us with this one last thing here. Of course, sometimes you're just trying to write a very basic sort of standard song form. But I very much, even in those, I try to add what I call the element of surprise, or something where when you're listening to something the first time, there's at least one part that goes somewhere that perks your ear up, that you didn't know it was going to go to that chord, like you didn't predict that it was just going to go to the D. Just like I was saying, like either it goes down half a step or maybe it went up a half a step, modulate a little bit, or like I do that. Even some of my simplest songs, I try to do that where and when I can, but I also try to do it in song forms. In like the second song on there, 2164, like that's kind of a rhapsody where I'm trying to keep going somewhere different with the song and never really it doesn't kind of circle back very much. To me, that's another thing that a lot of modern songwriting has missed. There's not a whole lot of that element of surprise going on that perks your ears up. It's there's a lot of predictableness.
Yes.
You can have a good deal at it should almost every song's going to, because there's only so many notes out there,
right? And
so many chord changes, but there should be once in a while, even in a pop song, you can have a part that makes you go, oh, that kind of, I didn't quite know that pre-chorus or the bridge,
right?
Or you have bridge. God, who the fuck writes bridges? It's like a lost art, bridge writing. Like bridges are like one of the best things in songs. Sometimes they really can. They take you away from it. And then when you get back to that chorus, it's almost like it's fresh again. And it's, I could go on forever about like, how much people have like lost and how pop's got a lot more basic and common denominator. So, Yeah, I'm rambling about songwriting now. I could talk
Zalgo
about that.
says, I hear something new in the music every time I rewatch Death of a Rock Star. It's awesome.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very layered. I'm a very like, some people are like, saying less is more. I'm like saying more is more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I throw everything, including the kitchen sink, into some of my songs where it's just like there's so much going on with the strings and everything, and I work real hard to like mix it so it's not really conflicting
Yeah.
and stuff. I'm a little unique in that regard where I'm like, well, let's just take this out and make space. It's that's for other people. For me, I just like to throw a bunch of shit at the wall and chaos and make it chaotic and exciting and colorful.
And colorful, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good,
But-
man. So I'm
All
gonna
right.
I'm gonna let you go do bodily functions and hang out with your loved ones.
Get another beer.
But everyone, do it. Go to this website below and check it out, because what's cool is there's a lot of shit in there. So like if you need a new T-shirt, he's got them.
That's right.
You need new tunes in your life, he's got them. You want to watch a movie? Oh, speaking of which, so you said before you go, I want to see if that's cool. Since you didn't know about Twitch, well, now you do. I don't know if you're familiar with a thing called Discord. But so
Yeah, use it every day.
okay, so I was wondering, but it would only be with these people, my normal user viewers, that I'd like to do a watch party. Yes, no, maybe. I mean, it's not going to be broadcast. No one's going to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. Because somebody else asked me to do this a bit ago too, and
I mean, I wouldn't be promoting it. It wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
It would be literally like me, my sister, a couple other people. But I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, no one's going to be. It'll be just these people because I want them to buy it. Right. It's really good. So, last question. You said that the sale, the pre-sale ends December 6th?
Yes, December 6th.
And then what is the projected date that sometime in 2025?
Delivery. I'm hoping for a mid-February delivery. That's going by the time frame that they say it usually takes from when I deliver them the final stuff to get it printed up final. It's still a long process to print, and I'll probably be there in Canada, and I'll probably having them send me proofs too, so that might delay it a little bit because I want to make sure it's
perfect. Yeah,
it's all cool. So hoping for mid-February.
Excellent. Well, people, in the meantime, you can go to the website. You can go to your favorite places. Go subscribe to him on YouTube. He's posting stuff, and he's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He does live stuff on there where the audio actually picks up his.
I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, he does plays like some tunes on there. And if Zoom wouldn't be in a butthole, I would have had him play something on here, but it must have some noise canceling thing going on.
Yeah, that was very strange.
Yeah. But anyway, it's been an honor. Excellent. I'm happy. I hope you were happy. I know our audience was happy.
Well, thank you, audience.
And I'll stay in touch and have a wonderful weekend.
Awesome. You too. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was really awesome. Everybody, Röckët Stähr.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great night. Well, that was cool. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did.